So what happens when a multi-trillion-dollar industry tries to build the future, but kind of forgets to check if it has enough bricks? Today was one of those days. We're going to unpack a wild 24 hours in tech where the big, shiny dreams of artificial intelligence slammed headfirst into the cold, hard wall of physical reality. We've got billion-dollar deals, we've got market meltdowns, and yeah, a few new gadgets too. Okay, let's get into it.
Let's just start with a number that should make you, maybe double check the price tag on your next phone. 600%. That is the absolutely jaw-dropping price surge for the high-performance memory chips, the stuff that powers everything from our gadgets to the gigantic data centers training the next generation of AI. It's a number that quietly caused a whole lot of chaos today.
And really, that brings us to the big question of the day. How is it possible that the world of AI is just rocketing forward with seemingly endless cache and computing power, while the actual hardware it all runs on is facing a supply crunch that feels like something straight out of 2021? It's a story of two completely different realities happening at the exact same time. So first up, let's talk about the dream. We are smack in the middle of a full-blown AI gold rush, and the numbers are just staggering. I mean, the amount of money and pure innovation being poured into this space is unlike anything we've seen before. A perfect example, Anthropic. They just secured a massive new round of funding that has catapulted its valuation to an eye-watering $380 billion. No, that is not a typo. It's one of the largest venture deals of all time, and it just goes to show you how intense this race to compete with giants like OpenAI is getting.
And it's not just about the money, it's about speed. OpenAI is definitely not sitting still. They just rolled out their new Codex Spark chips. Now, what's really wild here is the claim, a 15 times speed up in AI-assisted code generation. I mean, this could totally change how software is built, basically turning developers into orchestra conductors for an AI, instead of having to write every single note by hand. But in the middle of this whole boom, there's this growing course of concern. A whole wave of AI researchers are actually resigning from top labs, and they're issuing some pretty stark warnings about ethical risks and safety. This quote from some of them just captures the mood perfectly. This feeling that the technology is advancing way, way faster than our ability to control it. Okay, let's totally shift gears. Because while the AI world was dreaming in billions, the hardware world was waking up to a bit of a nightmare. This is where that digital dream meets a very physical and very expensive reality. And this chart just illustrates the whole problem perfectly. On the left, you've got this insatiable, skyscraper-sized demand for high-bandwidth memory, and it's driven almost entirely by these massive AI models. And then on the right, you have the available supply, which looks, well, a little small, doesn't it? This isn't just a gap, it's a canyon. And look, this isn't just some theoretical problem. This slide shows you the chain reaction from just one day. It started this morning with Cisco admitting on their earnings call that soaring memory costs were eating into their profits. By midday, hardware makers like Lenovo saw their stocks tumble. And by the time the closing bell rang, that pessimism had spread, dragging down the entire cloud sector. One warning, and the whole market got the shivers. So after a day of massive funding and market freakouts, who actually came out on top, and who took a pretty big hit? Let's break down the winners and losers. It's pretty clear-cut, really. In the winner's circle, you have the AI darlings, Anthropic and OpenAI, totally flush with cash and new tech. Then you have Meta, investing over $10 billion in new data centers just to feed its AI beast, and Samsung, pushing ahead with its AI-packed Galaxy S26. Now, on the other side, we have Apple, whose stock dropped 5% after yet another delay to its next-gen Siri. And of course, Cisco and all the other hardware makers are feeling the direct pain of that 600% memory price hike. And if we look at who just captured the conversation today, it was all about these key players. Anthropic's absolutely massive funding round put them right at the top. Meanwhile, Apple's AI stumbles made headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. And of course, Google and Samsung were right there in the mix, battling it out for their piece of the AI pie. Okay, let's zoom out from Wall Street and Silicon Valley for a minute and see how all this stuff actually affects the tech in our hands, the threats online, and the big decisions being made by world powers. It was a super busy day for gadgets. Sony dropped its highly anticipated XM6 earbud, promising next-level noise cancellation. We got the first juicy leaks for Samsung's upcoming Galaxy S26. After 2 very long years, the Vision Pro finally has a native YouTube app. And Meta revealed it sold a whopping 7 million smart glasses, which triples previous years. So yeah, the hardware is coming, even if the parts inside are getting pretty pricey. Now for the glitches.
The same AI that's powering all this innovation is also creating some brand new security nightmares. Hackers are now using public AI models as their co-conspirators. As this slide shows, it's a pretty simple three-step process. You access a model like Google's Gemini, use some clever prompts to get around its safety filters, and just like that, you have custom-built malicious code ready to go. In fact, hackers made over 100,000 prompts just trying to clone the Gemini model for their own uses. And here's a term you're going to be hearing a lot more about: agentic AI. This isn't just an AI that answers your questions anymore. This is an AI that can take a goal, like, say, optimize our supply chain or find new sales leads, and then on its own, create and execute a plan to achieve it. This is exactly why companies are still pouring billions into AI despite the costs. The promise of this level of automation is just too huge to ignore. And finally, let's talk governments. Let's look at this number: 100 million. That's how many WhatsApp users in Russia are now cut off from the service.
Yep, the government there has moved to fully block it, pushing users towards state-controlled platforms instead. It's just a stark reminder that the global tech landscape is getting more and more fractured by geopolitics, affecting how hundreds of millions of people communicate every single day. So, after that whirlwind tour of the tech world, what does it all really mean for you? Let's try to distill all this chaos down into the most important takeaways.
Here's your cheat sheet. When it comes to investment, keep your eyes on Anthropic and OpenAI. They're the ones setting the pace. For hardware, the keyword is volatility. Just expect unpredictable pricing for a while. On security, it's probably time to update your defenses for threats that are literally learning and adapting. And finally, in regulation, what happens in the US, the EU, and China with AI policy is going to have ripple effects everywhere.
Which kind of leaves us with this final thought. We saw record-breaking investment and some incredible leaps in innovation today. But we also saw market instability, looming price hikes, and some really serious ethical questions. So, was today a massive leap into the future, or was it just a very expensive, very complicated shuffle to the side?
Visit newsbite.tech for more tech news and bites.